So which one can you play for us today? What you got? Watch the fingers.
Schwarzenegger fingers.
Yeah, dude, watch them. Bolts Nation, welcome into another episode of the Bolts Block Party. I am your host, Greg Wolf, joined by the always effervescent Braydon Coburn. Do you know what that word means?
I just love how you describe me. It's like cohort.
I got to throw something different every time.
You know, like you're Robin, whatever it is. It's crazy.
You're the Robin to me, Batman.
Oh, yeah,
Anyways,
sure. Come on.
I'm excited. I know you are as well to welcome this gentleman onto the block here this afternoon, Krystof Srebrakowski. He is our longtime organist for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And what year are you in now here, Krystof, with the organization?
I joined the team, this organization, in 2012.
Okay, so 12 years. It's a pretty long time now.
12 seasons,
Yeah, Wolfie, I got to admit, I got to admit this right away, Krystof, too. Like, when you told me, like, you were like, I really want Krystof on the podcast.
Yes.
And I was like, who? You're like, you got to meet this guy. He's so interesting. He's got such a great story.
Yes.
And I'm just really kind of super excited for this conversation.
So Krystof, 12 years with the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. I feel like the amazing 5-module, 300-speaker Goliath Walker pipe organ that we have here at Amalie Arena. Is there a bigger pipe organ in the world? Or in any venue in the United States? Or do we have the biggest one that you know of?
Actually, the Walker electronic theater organ that we have in our arena is the largest instrument of its kind in the world.
In the world?
Yep.
So were you involved at all in those discussions when the Lightning wanted to go that big with their organ and to really make it a focal point of our game night? Were you involved in any of those conversations at the beginning?
Not at the beginning, because I joined when I was, actually it was the second season of the existence of this instrument, 2012.
Okay.
The instrument was installed in 2011.
Okay.
And when I joined in 2012, that was probably the shortest NHL season of all. You remember the lockouts, we actually started in January.
And we were terrible.
2013.
I'll never forget.
It was like 3 months only.
We were out.
Like
it was
just
terrible.
a handful of games, and so it was just started and finished like before anyone even thought that was a season.
Sure. So you are from Żary. Am I pronouncing that right? Poland.
Żary, Poland.
Żary, Poland, which is between Berlin and Prague. Your mom was a pharmacist. Your dad was an engineer.
Yep.
So where in the world did your love for science and music, where did that come from at such a young age? Really more for the music stuff. The science I get, but where did your love for music, composing, and just falling in love with it come from with that household with, two extremely smart parents?
It's actually a very interesting story because I grew up surrounded by culture. In that particular region, music has very strong tradition going back to the Baroque era and even earlier, Renaissance and stuff. So
the big composers are from there, correct?
Yes, big composers, Telemann, Bach,
Chopin,
Beethoven, Mozart. They are all from that Central European region.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with basically listening to classical music, and my parents were, even though they had different profession, not musical profession. My mom was a pharmacist, as you said, and my dad was an engineer, but they were highly educated people and with high culture. So I had a huge collection of vinyl records at home, and plus we had weekly concerts, performances in the local castle.
Sure.
Built in the 16th century, actually.
Amazing.
So
that is culture.
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
that is culture. And of course, growing up, I had the proximity to 3 countries. Poland, of course, my country of birth. Germany, which was 15 minutes drive. And Czech Republic, which was like an hour drive down south.
Wow.
So we had the TV and radio broadcasts that we could see coming from 3 different countries. It's kind of interesting.
So who taught you then to play? Because, I mean, obviously you weren't playing an organ at that age. You were playing piano, correct?
Yeah, I started piano. I think my local church organist discovered that I had some talent towards music, and advised my parents to invest in that. And so my parents bought the piano. So when I was 5 years old, I started my piano lessons. And then I was going to 2 schools at the same time. The normal school that we start in the morning with other kids.
For sure.
Till about 1 p.m., maybe 2 p.m., depends. And then at 5 p.m., music school started. So basically, I didn't have childhood per se, like growing up
on the street,
with the streets with the other kids and everything, because I was into music so much, and I wanted to master that. That was in me, and so I got the formal education with learning music history, piano, organ, music theory, ear training, you name it. I did it all.
What kind of, was it always though classical music for you, or were you into other kinds of music at that age that, like, I mean, was there any rock and roll involved? And things that were like your influences?
Absolutely. Okay. There was the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. Of course, everybody was listening to this, and then classic rock came out, Led Zeppelin and everything. Yes. So in addition to classical music, I was so into it. Actually, and of course, I did other like dance music, popular music, tangos. Okay. So my first gig I was 11 years old. 11. I played in the restaurant in Poland. My parents didn't know anything about it. So when my grandma found out, it was like, she wasn't happy about it, but it was only from 6 p.m. to 8. I just played local piano, and they gave me $5. That was, so I had money for candies and everything. So I was like, kind of
requested cool, at least a steak or something.
Cool thing.
Wow. So wait, so how did you get the gig at 11 years old if your parents didn't know?
Oh, somebody asked, I just sat down to the piano, and the manager was like, "Oh, that sounds great. Can you play like on, I was like, well, I'm still at school. I'm a kid and everything. No, it's just, so during the summer, only like July, August.
Okay, like after school.
After and everything. So, but that was kind of interesting. And when I was in high school, that's when I had to make the decision what to do with my life. I was about 17, 18 years old. And I had 2 choices because I was equally immersed in music and then in sciences, maths, physics, chemistry. And I was going to 2 schools at that time. It was high school with the technical engineering focused on electronics. That was 1980s.
Was your dad happy about that?
Yeah, of course. No, my parents, they were, like I grew 2 interests in me.
Sure.
I had a little laboratory at home with, all this chemistry sets
I remember
and,
those.
Substances and everything, all compounds. And, I did all, got it from the pharmacy store. My mom provided all things.
Very cool.
And then I was into electronics a lot. With emerging computer science as well. So I had a hard time deciding what to do, study music or study sciences and everything. And then music was stronger in me, so I chose to continue in the conservatory back in Poland. And then I started to travel, playing first across Europe in different countries with different bands. And then on the cruise ships for the Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines.
Oh, nice. Traveling the world.
1990s. Yep. Caribbean, coral reefs and everything. Playing different styles of music, musicals, some jazz, pop, rock.
Everything, yeah.
Salsa, merengue, calypso with Jamaican bands.
All self-taught that music, or just over the years when you were taking lessons, you started to learn more about those different types of music genres?
Combination of both.
Okay.
Self-taught. I was doing a lot of transcriptions, learning different styles, myself. But then, of course, I had formal training in classical music, rudiments, and so I did that. And of course, when I went to Berkeley in Boston, that I was studying jazz piano and everything. So,
College of Music.
Yeah, combination of a lot of elements adds up to this. And to this day, I'm still learning, constantly practicing. So I always compare music to sports. It's very interesting connection because just like in sports, you have to practice constantly.
Yes.
You have to train yourself. You have to practice elements, just like you practice elements of the game, right? With the stick, with the puck, and everything.
Sure.
You kind of become second nature. Like for yourself, you kind of know what to do. You don't after some time.
Guess yourself, right?
And then when you stop doing this for some time, it just gets away. You have to almost like go back to training camp, retrain yourself.
Sword continuously, right?
Yes. With music, it's the same exact thing. If I stopped practicing and everything, ligaments will probably grow together, and fingers became a little bit lazy and everything. Sure. So it's just
it's a muscle.
It's a muscle memory, exactly.
Yeah. So with your training, how many instruments do you play? And let's say, and I don't know if you do or not, but let's say like guitar, something you don't play. If we gave you a guitar and gave you a timeline, how long would it take you to be able to become a good guitar player or something else?
It's a good question. I play guitar a little bit. I played a little bit of bass guitar as well. But my focus was on keyboard instruments. And the keyboard instruments are hard in themselves already, that it doesn't give you much of the time to master other instruments if you want to be on certain like virtuoso level and everything. Yes. I was preparing myself to be concert pianist, and but then when you play organ, you've got multiple keyboards, you've got pedals and everything. So it's a different frame of mind, completely different mindset. And then when you compose for the orchestra, for example, you have to think in your head different types of instruments. So you have to study the techniques of what other players are doing, just like in hockey.
It's the bass, right? It's really the bass.
For example, you're a goalie and everything, but you know exactly what the attacker will do,
right?
Or defense will do.
It's your music IQ.
Exactly. So the music IQ, it translates pretty much similar like in sports. You're doing like tennis professionally.
Yeah.
So probably you will not be a world-class soccer player because there is not enough time.
You have to specialize.
In the day, you have to specialize.
Well, they say a master, it takes over 10,000 hours to technically be considered a master at anything.
So absolutely.
You got to think the amount of work and hours and practices that have gone in.
I think the greatest musicians in history all have that piano bass because of the level of difficulty that it has.
Well, every instrument has its own. Yeah, they are. I would say when you get to the virtuoso level, it becomes kind of equal at some point.
Right.
Just like, and then you have to focus on certain discipline within the realm of that discipline.
Fascinating.
Right? So it's kind of like in every kind of human activity. To master something, you have to,
you got to stay with it.
Stay with it.
So was it the cruise line industry that eventually brought you here to Central Florida? Like, so what brought you to Florida? Obviously, we know you've been with Disney for a long time. I would love for you to explain, like, what are you doing over at Disney for the people that don't know? But what brought you to Central Florida?
Well, I kind of wanted to settle somewhere.
Sure.
So Disney World was a logical choice because at that time, of course, I like the climate. I like the vegetation here and the entire environment.
Sure.
Florida environment, plus being in the central Florida is kind of nice. You've got proximity to both coasts and, lots of wonderful things. And for the entertainment, as you know from your own experience, we have plethora of people coming the whole entire year. So there is no downtime or anything. We function the whole entire year.
Right.
Lots of events, lots of performance opportunities and everything, especially around like Disney, Universal and everything.
So what are you doing over at Disney for those that don't know?
At Disney, I I started actually in 1996
Wow.
that I moved to Central Florida.
Almost 30 years with Disney.
Yep.
Remarkable.
So I started with Kids of the Kingdom
Okay.
as a keyboardist. And then I did Magic Music Days. I played with Hollywood Hitman at Brown Derby, solo piano, at the Grand Floridian, solo piano. I was the band leader for Phil Collins' production, Tarzan Rocks, which ran through 2000. That was actually 1999 through 2006, 7 years.
And did you get to work with Phil Collins at all?
Actually, only rehearsals, but we did. It was a great production. It was probably the best production Disney put together, like on regular basis.
Sure.
We had acrobats, skaters, we had characters, singers, live band,
So
and all the visual and audio effects and everything.
I mean,
It's
Phil
great.
Collins, that's a pretty big name to
Yeah.
work with. Who are some of the other big names in music that you've had the pleasure of working with over your time?
I worked with Jody Benson, the voice of the Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
I played with Peebo Bryson, Regina Bell from
Gina Bell, Peebo Bryson,
Yeah.
big jazz.
yeah. So this kind of thing. I
Any
toured.
pop? Any pop artists?
I was on the world tour with Julio Iglesias.
Wow.
So, and of course, lots of different performances, lots of Broadway artists coming regularly to Florida performing with different orchestras and everything. So it's pretty much a lot.
Have you mastered, and I know that's, I mean, because again, we're talking about 12 plus years, but do you feel that you have mastered everything you need to or could possibly know about our organ? Like, do you know every little thing about it?
After 12 years, absolutely. But when I first got to see the instrument, I was a little bit overwhelmed.
Yes.
I wouldn't say intimidated because I already had practice playing at Disney at the wedding pavilion. We have 3 manuals organ with the pedal and everything. But this is like by far 10 times larger and everything, and has incredible capacity, incredible memory, and it can imitate tons of different instruments at the same time. And so it was challenging. I had to research, I had to get the owner's manual, I had to study the instrument for several months.
Right. What about maintenance on something that immense? Like, what type of maintenance do you have to do? Like, I don't imagine you can go, a full season without some sort of regular.
He's not up
routine.
there with WD-40s. Like,
Well,
spraying the legs,
Right, because
man.
there's something like.
Yes, Walker Technical provides the technicians, the technical support, to make sure that all speakers, all the amplification system works properly. They constantly update the sound as well, and which is a big part of it. So we have somebody coming like on yearly basis, regularly upstairs to maintain, and also on the catwalk above the ice rink.
I mean, have you been up there? Just the visual. Once you go up to the organ,
I haven't. I've never.
You probably just should walk up there one day and maybe go chill with Krystof, like while he's. But just to see the sheer size of the pipes, it's like there's literally nothing like it in the world.
Plus, we have 25,000 watts of amplification system, over 150 speakers positioned carefully throughout the entire Amalie Arena to deliver quadraphonic sound.
Wow.
Actually, if you look at my CDs booklet,
which by the way is available now,
the description of the organ is on the last page of the
it's
5 different
decks.
levels, 5
of
decks
of the booklet.
That is insane.
So it's a challenging thing to master, and I still practice it. So
you got to,
I for example, this morning I already practiced at home for 2 hours on piano, just to keep my fingers.
Keep them warmed up.
So I'm just looking at your fingers, and your fingers look like they're in shape. I don't know how you can like look at a finger. These fingers look in shape, but like, what about do you get injured, like arthritis, or like how's that like? Because this is your livelihood, right?
But so it's a good question.
Do you get hand massages?
No, but I know how to relax myself and everything.
Yeah.
I know how to play properly.
Sure.
For the hands not to become stiff.
Yeah.
With the relaxed position. And it's not only fingers and everything. It's a forearms, shoulders, everything.
Yeah.
He's
Everything
in the gym, man. He's
putting
putting
the
in work.
Arnold
He's got the pregame
Schwarzenegger
work.
of hands, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, like, it's and with the organ, of course, with pedals,
Feet, you're
you still
constant
have
moving.
to practice with your legs and everything.
Right. Yeah. Full body.
So it's a full body exercise kind of thing.
So let's take our fans through a game night, which again I'm privy to be behind the scenes and I hear and see.
You're part of it.
I'm part of it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think our fans quite understand the air traffic control that goes on a game night between yourself, between Sean Bavelski, who is DJ Bolt,
yeah.
and Stephen Frey, who is directing the show, and the back and forth. Because again, you may go from a whistle on the ice, and then Sean's playing music, but then the very next whistle, which is 7 seconds later, is now Krystof doing a charge chant. So explain to our listeners and our fans on a game night the kind of air traffic control, constant movement, and the constant communication that's needed in order for things to seem flawless.
So throughout the game, on typical game night, I wear the headphones with the microphone.
Yep.
Communicating on the telecom with DJ,
Yep.
which is Sean Bavelski.
Mhm.
Sean is great. He's
awesome.
He's been with us forever, much longer than I. And Stephen
Yep.
Frey or John Franzon.
Mhm.
Sometimes John is the boss of
He is the boss
everybody.
man. We already know.
Yeah,
We had him on last
we already
season.
know.
The maestro.
The maestro John. Yep. So between the three of us, and occasionally I hear on the headphones some other production
Directions, yes.
team members like Felicia
In control.
in
Yep.
a control room, and or Darlene who produces the content and everything. So it's a lot of behind the scenes for our fans to have constant excitement, constant feelings. So there's not a moment of silence
Right.
really in the arena. When you guys stop playing for if there is a whistle
So
or
you're already
penalty
queued
or
up.
something.
You
Yes.
know, like that at this whistle, I'm going to be, I'm on.
Yes, we can kind of communicate because we have a lot of content as
Right.
well. We have infomercials, we have commercials, we have announcements.
Yep.
So
Games,
sometimes
right.
it's me playing, sometimes it's Greg speaking
Correct.
on the microphone at different points of the arena. Sometimes we have the video,
Right.
you know.
So what about like things that are not scripted? You know, let's say there's a goal review.
Right.
And sometimes we see with the refs, like this
Yes.
takes forever.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they're like, it's in Toronto and they're looking it over.
Yes.
These things are probably not the easiest things to plan for.
No.
You can't plan for them.
You can't. Every game is different.
100%.
First of all, there's no, as you know,
Right.
better than anybody. And there's no two identical games. But yes, certain elements are kind of repetitive.
Yep.
So we have kind of everything scripted. What we need to do during intermissions, what we need to do during breaks, especially the breaks. And this is kind of funny too. Sometimes gives us those like moments, especially when the red light goes on.
Right.
And then it goes off. There is no break
Right.
because there was like a 1 second left, maybe, or something happened. You know, they decided last minute that there was an icing or something. You know, and then you don't have the TV break anymore, and you
Right.
have to wait. You know, you guys facing that all the time too, as players and everything.
It's constant movement. It's constant communication.
Constant.
You constantly have to be on your P's and Q's. And like you said, for him, he's on the headset, like completely closed with a microphone, while he's still composing, because he still has to be able to hear Sean or Franzone give him a cue or
Yes.
tell him to stop or all of that, while he still has to take the other half of his brain and continue to do what you're doing.
And I have to observe the referee.
Correct. He has
because
to keep an eye.
when the referee drops the puck on a face-off,
You got to stop.
hands
Everything.
off keyboard.
Well,
Correct.
that's a great point then. Like, what
Yes.
was your relationship with hockey before and what has grown to now?
Well, I grew up watching hockey a lot. Now, of course, because of the proximity to Czech Republic, hockey was always
Czechoslovakia
big.
back
Yeah.
then, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was big sport and everything. And of course, growing up in Europe with the cold climate, I know how to skate and everything because that was part of the upbringing too. But the first time I actually was aware of presence of the organ music didn't come from Europe, because in Europe we didn't have the tradition of having
No,
organ during
right.
the hockey game.
Right.
When I was watching the Winter Olympic Games from Calgary, Canada, that was
1988, yeah.
1988, I noticed, there's an organist during hockey. How cool that is. So automatically I was like, they associate the hockey game with the organ sound. How great tradition is that?
Yes.
You know, never thinking that one day I will actually become the organist for NHL, which is the ultimate dream.
It's like a full circle moment for him.
That's so cool.
To come
When
true.
you were saying also, I know you had asked about instruments. He got his CD out, which, by the way, what's the name of the CD?
The name of the CD is Power Play.
Power Play, which obviously it should be called that.
Yes.
But the compositions that are a part of your CD are the game night, what we call blackout, when the lights go down and we're getting ready to start the festivities. Krystof composes and creates all of those pieces.
That's wild to me that those are your original.
Those are his original creative pieces. I know this because my company, Street Laced, our motto is "We don't play, we just win." And Krystof, he actually made, it's on the CD, he made
With just one,
a composition based upon the motto of my company, which is "We don't play, we just win," meaning we don't take crap, we're going to get the job done. And like he showed it to me and sent me the sheet music, and like I was blown away because he creates not just the organ parts, but you're also creating the bass line, the drums, so everything in the composition is him.
Right.
So again, the music that you're playing as background music, the bass line or the drums, that is all keyboard. You're not playing in a studio with drums, and you have learned how to master those instruments through the keyboard.
So this CD was recorded 2 ways.
Okay.
At home in my home studio.
Okay.
With mimicking different instruments. And then I was bringing my recording equipment upstairs to the organ.
Yep.
When nobody is in the arena.
Of course.
Like during the day, during the summertime, when you guys are in the training camp, I was upstairs recording stuff. Strings, woodwinds, brass instruments, percussive, because we are talking about 120-piece orchestra that I have to somehow mimic.
Yeah.
So the only way to do it is, because I have only two hands, 2 feet.
Sure.
Is to pre-record everything
in layers.
And in layers. So I utilized both like a studio instruments and the sound that comes from the organ.
Of course.
Because it's not only organ. This instrument has everything. It has pianos, guitars, strings, synthesizers, percussive instruments, everything. This is orchestra, this instrument. This is unbelievable, absolutely, when you really get known this inside
and that's
out.
available still in the Tampa Bay Sports Store?
Still available in our store.
I
made only handful of copies. So this is the collector's item.
The
really.
collector's edition. It's on eBay for hundreds of
But
dollars.
I loved, like you were saying the names of some of the pieces.
Some of the pieces, yes. So let me go through some of them.
Yes.
For example, Lightning Strikes Back.
Which is great.
Piece that opens the CD. I have description of all pieces in the booklet. Of course, my symphonic poem, "The Onset of Revenge." The whole entire
I had no idea.
Story.
It's amazing.
This is 2018 through 2022, both Stanley Cups and everything, and then
tonight, like when you listen to hit the pregame and the blackout, and he's up there, and we go to him, it's the soft pan into Krystof. Everything, you have to really now listen to the composition and know that he did every single piece of it.
Sometimes I play music from movies, from action films. I can play something from Star Wars, I can play Superman, or I can play Ant-Man, or
popular music.
Like
he played
Batman, or any of those superhero films. And actually that was John Franzon's idea.
Well, it's superheroes. I mean,
when I first started, he had a great idea. Actually, that came from we had the organist for the first year of organ's existence. His name was Ray. Ray started that tradition. He was doing like arrangements of some film music at the suggestion of John Franzon. And then I continued the tradition, but I wanted to bring it to different level, to next level, to actually sound like Hollywood film soundtracks.
Sure.
So it's like a movie.
So-
Because to me, the hockey game, it's like a film, it's like a movie, it's like an action movie.
Yeah.
It has all elements, all ingredients. It has pace, it has drama, it has a quick, different settings and everything, right?
Yeah.
Bursts of energy,
Energy,
highs and lows,
and
Lots of bad
ups
guys
and
and good
downs.
guys out
bad
there.
guys, the villains.
Ups
Yes.
and downs, ebbs and flows, as Sean Bovelski is
So-
always saying.
So we're gonna let you play a little ditty here for us in a second, but to touch on that, which you just said, Hollywood and superheroes, supervillain movies. We already know what you've accomplished in your career up to this point. Would that be the next ultimate goal for you? Is to be able to compose for Hollywood and big movies like that?
Well, it's a good question. Maybe one day I was tempted to go to Hollywood already in
Really?
2007, 2008, around those years. I even went to LA for some time, just to visit and to see around and everything. But it's a thing. I don't think myself I would move to California right
Okay.
now because I'm so established here. I have
sure.
everything. I have my place.
Yeah,
I
but
have
down
my
the
house,
road.
studio, and everything.
Down the road.
But because of the internet
Yeah.
and everything, of the possibility of communication, especially after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
the new way of communicating emerged between film directors and composers and production team. You can do everything online, virtually.
Mm-hmm.
You can be located at any place in the world to do your job, still communicating in real time
Right.
with various people. So maybe I'll go for movies, still living here.
Okay.
Something that I have to start pursuing. But I was so focused on what I'm doing right now.
Of
and,
course.
there is not enough hours in the day to do everything. But this took a long time to create. And when you listen to my CD, it's basically I could score 14, 15 movies
Yeah,
probably
for sure.
utilizing this musical material.
All right.
That is
So
here.
what can you play for us right now? So, my boy Kobe here can kind of get a sense for, your passion and how amazing
I
you
got
are.
all kinds of ideas. I'm like Wolfie, we got him here. We might as well get like an opening
I
to
was
the
gonna
podcast.
say,
Maybe
yes.
like a little
For
closer.
example, the Lightning Strikes Back. It
Okay.
says the opening piece reflects positive emotions and elation after a big win at home following a loss on the road.
I love
You
that.
know- you know
he's
the-
giving you
the
things,
the tee
right?
up of the
Yes.
emotion.
And everything. So, for example, power play. Those big choral and orchestral textures reflects the spirit and emotions during the power play. One of the most exciting elements of the hockey game.
I feel like I'm reading the back of a wine bottle. Describing the wine.
Yes.
This is describing this.
Yes.
This,
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes,
what he
so
was going
every
for.
single composition, and there's composition named On the Edge. There we have Blades of Steel, we have Penalty Kill, Go Balls.
Have you ever named one after a player?
Not after the player,
Well,
but after the team.
Yep.
The Lightning Strikes Back, Go Balls, of course. We've just won Let's Be the Thunder.
Yeah.
That's a
okay.
composition. The Puck Drop Ceremony, Behind the Blue Line, Focus on
It's
Defense.
literally a playlist for us, like
Yeah.
for the Lightning Bolts Nation. It's
Well,
fantastic.
yes.
No, I mean, it is. The names speak for themselves, Krystof.
Names of the pieces and...
So which one can you play for us today? What you got?
have to...
I love that he
I
brought
feel like
the
I wish I
roll
would have known that when I was playing here.
because you probably be a little,
and
little
then
bit,
you
would've-
pick it up, right? Like,
little bit
all right,
more,
here we
yeah.
go.
But when I play, you guys are still behind
They're
the
still-
scenes.
yeah.
You still didn't enter the ice yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you enter the ice, it's already over.
All right. So Krystof is getting things set up here. Here we go. Watch the fingers.
Schwarzenegger fingers.
Yeah, dude. Watch them.
and then at the end of the piece, big thunder.
Yes. And so that's also if you didn't know as well, the big thunders that are always coming, the big thunders are coming from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has that program on
And
the
there's
board as well.
interesting story. When you go upstairs to see the instrument, there are buttons, thunder. So the team who designed the organ builder, they came one summer during the storm season in Florida. They positioned themselves in the nature, and then they recorded the actual thunder strikes.
Which is amazing. Those are legit thunder
The
strikes. Those are not
legit Central Florida thunder strikes.
Wow.
So they isolated the best audio files.
Yeah.
They polished them and installed into the organ's memory as a collection chosen randomly by the computer that is
So
in
they
the
sound like
part of
different
the
thunder
organ
strikes.
I'm not
as a round
surprised.
robin thing. So when I press the button, the thunder comes from the speakers. And the good thing is I never know which strike. We have like 30
Different
something
thunders.
different types of thunder strikes. So each of them is different. So you really feel like in the middle of the thunderstorm. So it's not fake. It's the same sound every time.
It's remarkable,
It's
dude.
wild.
It
Like,
really is wild.
It is remarkable.
Not to
actually.
sound like I'm trying to sell tickets here because we don't need to do that.
No,
but
but like-
when you come to a game,
Yes.
it's first class from the little details to all the way to everything in the building. It's
100%.
It's just
Because
amazing.
entertainment.
100%. Sports and
Yeah, but
entertainment.
you
right.
could cut corners if you want. Like, they could have took something else, but it was important and it's a big part of the game. And
wanted real thunder.
Yeah.
from
But we
nature.
don't.
yeah,
But
We don't cut
because we
corners,
have such an incredible team, and I'm actually, as an organist, I'm privileged to be working with such creative team of people
Yes.
behind the scenes. That really makes the whole incredible difference.
All right,
Amazing
Krystof,
guy.
before we get out of here, we're going to ask you the hat trick, which is a series of questions. This is powered by our friends at Highlight IPA. These are just generic questions, and we're going to give you 3 of them. I will start with the first one. Who in music today would you love to work with if given the chance?
Actually, 2 names come
Okay.
to my
Like if you could work with them tomorrow.
Immediately, tomorrow.
Yes.
John Williams, Hans Zimmer,
Hans Zimmer.
film composers.
There you go.
Wow.
Those are good choices. All right.
All right.
yeah.
So, what is the best compliment someone could give you?
It's good question, because I'm a very modest person, and
Yeah, so
and
what's-
everything. If somebody compliments and everything, man, you sound great, or something. That says all, because in that one sentence, you sound great. That is years and years and years of training and everything.
Sure.
Like yourself, you had such a great game and everything. You know how it feels.
Yeah.
You trained since kid with the stick and everything. Same thing with the musical instrument.
All right, Krystof, the final question in the hat trick. What is the biggest risk you have ever taken?
Good question too. That's actually not easy to answer. If it's music related,
Sure. Let's go music related. Biggest risk you ever took?
probably could be financial risk, actually. Buying certain piece of music hardware that I didn't know, because it was a huge investment, if I would be like using it, or it will just start collect dust at some point.
Sure.
So that's probably, and like doing all the sounds and everything, you have to make those risky decisions almost on daily basis, because it's constantly updating your software, which is personal investment.
For sure.
But if you don't do, then you become obsolete, and you cannot continue, because that was like for example, one of my compositions, Power Play, for example, it features the choir.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to my composition, It's actual choir singing with the syllables, with everything. So the choir that I purchased the library from they are from Seattle, Washington. They recorded soundtracks for plethora of Hollywood films. They created the soundtrack for Lord of the Rings, Gladiator, I don't know, Batman. Or, you name the film, they provided the choir performance. So I had to buy this library because I wanted to feature in PowerPlay.
Yeah.
But to get that library, I had to update my computer system.
Oh, boy.
And I'm sorry, sir, you cannot update your computer because your computer is obsolete. So I had to buy a brand new Macintosh computer.
Oh my God. Just to get that. Well,
and get all this software installed and everything. Took days, if not weeks, to go through this,
But the risk paid off.
So these are the risky moments that you kind of like put yourself in.
Well, they've all paid off, and we are so absolutely fortunate to have you here on game nights. You totally bring the experience up to another level. Amazing passion. Like I said, we're so absolutely privileged and thankful to have you on the squad. Krystof has joined the block party. Thanks to our friends at Highlight IPA. We appreciate you taking the time, and Kobe and I, we will be back with another episode.
And go Bolts!
Go Bolts. We'll see you next week.